My ex wants me back. Do I tell his pregnant girlfriend? I 29 started seeing a guy 34M early 2019. Everything was going well and we were seeing each other fairly regularly until about 10 months in when he confessed he technically had a girlfriend 27F who he had been living with for a few years. He explained to me that they were pretty much broken up and it was more of a roommate situation until their lease ran out, then he was going to leave her properly and get out. He kept telling me how she was mentally abusive to him and super codependent, and he was miserable and felt trapped. He was just waiting out the lease on their apartment. I was angry that he hadn't told me earlier, but I understood why it was something awkward to bring up and explained to him that I wasn't comfortable with the situation, but we had a great relationship and a deep connection, and if he was serious about leaving her, we could figure something out. He told me that she was very aware he was leaving her and she didn't care about who he was seeing or anything like that, and if I'm being honest, I was so infatuated with this man I felt no reason to question it. I just believed him. So we continued our relationship, and the date the lease ran out got closer and closer, and he was making zero effort to move out. He would mention it occasionally but with no real plan of action, so I started getting suspicious. He told me she was being manipulative and saying that if he moved out her life would be ruined and she wouldn't be able to afford her bills and may hurt herself. He said that although he didn't want to be around her, he didn't want to add any more stress or pain to her life, and he felt he had a duty of care to her, so they ended up renewing their lease. So given that I don't want to be labeled as a homewrecker, I meet up with him and explain how he's made me feel completely used and like he doesn't care about me or our relationship, unsurprising all things considered, and he basically responded by love beaming me. He was telling me I was his soulmate and that one day he was going to marry me. He just doesn't have the heart to hurt her and cause her more stress, but he would get out when she was more stable and we would be together, and a load of other complete crap. As previously stated, up to this point I was under the impression that she knew he was seeing someone and was planning on leaving her. I then found out from a mutual friend that was a total lie. She still thought he was her boyfriend, and even though their relationship was rocky, she had no idea he was planning on leaving and even less idea he was seeing anyone else. I was absolutely furious when I heard this, like properly hit the roof and cut everything off entirely. I told him I knew he had been lying to both of us and not to contact me again. I stopped responding to his messages. I thought this would be the end of it and I started moving on with my life. Fast forward to about 3 months ago, I walk into a cafe and there he is, sitting alone in a corner. I get my coffee and sit down far away from him. Clearly I didn't sit far enough away because he walks over and asks if he can sit down. I say yes and we have a bit of a catch-up chat. He apologizes for everything that happened and throws in a bit of guilt-tripping and a woe-is-me story of how bad the relationship was, but I hear him out mainly just for my own closure's sake. So I get home and do a bit of snooping on Facebook. I see they're still together, still living together, and she's pregnant. By this point I'm just relieved I dodged a bullet and I'm not a part of their toxic situation anymore. So then last week he messages me. He tells me he's not stopped thinking about me since he saw me. Letting me go was the biggest mistake of his life, and he wants me back. He starts going on about how seeing me brought back all the memories and reminded him of how happy we were. He also tells me he still believes we are soulmates. He finishes his overdramatic wall of text by saying he has finally got his life sorted out and is single. He then asks me if I would be willing to give him another chance. I don't mention that I've seen they're still together or any of that stuff. I just reply saying it was good to see him but I've moved on. Now here's the bit I really want advice on. I've been thinking about this for a few days now and I just don't know if I should tell her. I have no idea how much of this woman's mental state he was being honest about or if she really was mentally abusing him, but I know from mutual friends that she would probably react very badly and probably violently if she knew what he had done. Part of me wants to just draw a line under it and do nothing, but I keep thinking if I was pregnant and had been living with a man for like 5 years, I would want to know if he was trying to start an affair and calling some other woman his soulmate. Should I tell her? If I do tell her, is there a way of breaking it to her softly? I just really need some advice on how I approach this. Side note, I also realize I really should have told her after they renewed the lease on their apartment, but given what he was saying about her mental state and threatening to hurt herself, I didn't want to exacerbate anything. I just wanted to move on. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, you should definitely tell her. As you said, you'd want to know too, and no woman deserves to be lied to and possibly marry a guy that's been cheating on her since forever. I'm sure she'd want to know who the father of her child really is so she can take the steps she needs. You could send her this post and some screenshots anonymously so there is no possibility that she might take her anger out on you, since some women like to blame the other woman instead of their man who's supposed to be faithful. Disclaimer: English is not my first language. Please excuse any spelling errors. Op answer: yeah, that's my main fear. I know I'm not innocent in this, but I don't want her to be able to trace anything back to me and take her anger out on me. She really does have a right to know though, and your English is perfect. Redditor 2, show her the same compassion and respect that you'd want to be shown in the same situation. And next time, don't get involved with someone who technically has a girlfriend who they're pretty much broken up with. Op answer: thank you for your advice. I will try to remain respectful and compassionate and not let my anger for him impact the way I approach it. I learned this one the hard way. I'm also never taking anything at face value ever again. Redditor 3, for the love of God, yes. Why would you let him sit down with you for coffee after such a long con? You realize you're the other woman, right? And his current GF is probably a very nice and completely blind to his actions person? Just stop. Yes, tell her everything. Op answer: to be honest, I only let him sit down because I didn't want to cause a scene, and it's been over a year since our last conversation. I think on some level I just really wanted an apology, which I didn't get, just more manipulation and lies. I'm aware I was the other woman, and it absolutely kills me inside that I had that role. Believe me, this isn't a situation I ever wanted to be in. Edit: pandemic has screwed my concept of time. It's been at least 2 years. Update: my ex wants me back. Should I tell his pregnant girlfriend? Edit: I've posted some further info to my profile explaining why I didn't go straight to her and answering some questions that keep coming up in the comments. I posted a few weeks ago about how my manipulative, gaslighting, waste of oxygen X34M was trying to get me 29F back, even though his girlfriend 27F is currently pregnant. I just wanted to give you all an update of what happened next. My original post didn't get many replies, but I want to just thank those who did reply, as it really gave me some things to think about and some great ideas of how to approach the situation, so thank you all. I ended up sending him a message letting him know that I knew they had never broken up as he said they had. I told him that I knew she was pregnant, and I wasn't afraid to tell her what he was doing. He tried to deny everything and said that I must be mistaken and they had definitely broken up and she was not pregnant, and if she was somehow pregnant it was nothing to do with him. I'm not an idiot, and I'm sick of him thinking he can continue to get away with blatant lies, so I sent him screenshots of the announcement from her public Facebook post with him tagged. I basically told him that I wanted the full truth from him and asked him what made him think he was going to get away with manipulating and lying to 2 women who are both honestly worth better than him. I don't know his girlfriend. We have a couple of mutual friends, but I do know that everyone is worth more than a man who thinks his behavior is acceptable. He got a bit defensive but finally told me that he didn't love her and didn't want to be with her, and that the pregnancy had just happened and she was so happy he didn't want to ruin her joy by leaving her. He told me that he really had meant everything he had ever said to me and that one day he thought we could work it out and be together. I told him I'd been done with him for a long time and wanted nothing to do with him going forward. He seemed upset and slightly shocked at this revelation, which honestly shouldn't have been that much of a shock to him, as I had previously told him on multiple occasions that I was done. I told him that I have chat logs of all our previous conversations going back 3-4 years or however long it's been now since he came into my life. I said I have all the conversations where he had told me he was leaving her, the conversations where he had lied and said she knew he was seeing someone, All the chats where he had tried to manipulate me into staying with him, messages where he had told me he loved me and couldn't stand her and couldn't wait for their tenancy to run out so he could leave, and even him trying to reach out a few weeks ago and me saying I had moved on. I made him aware I had all of it and would be forwarding it to her because she has a right to know what sort of man she is having a child with. He practically begged me not to and told me she wasn't mentally stable enough to deal with this right now, again with him blaming her mental stability when things aren't going his way. Lol. In the end he blocked me on WhatsApp, so I decided to leave it and didn't message her. I assumed wrongly he would just take this as a warning and do better. And then she messaged me on Facebook. She sent me a message accusing me of trying to ruin her relationship and start an affair with her best friend and soulmate. I don't know exactly what he had said to her about me, but I didn't want to be painted as the bad guy in this, so I decided to just go nuclear and sent her literally everything and an apology to go with it. I told her that I had been seeing him before the pandemic and was under the impression they were separated, and she knew everything. I also deleted his number from my phone, so in the screenshots I sent it showed his phone number, so she would clearly know it was him who had sent the messages and he wouldn't be able to easily gaslight her into believing he was innocent. I calmly advised her to read everything, then she could make her own choices. I blocked her and him on Facebook and blocked him on WhatsApp too, and deactivated my Facebook account just in case anyone else tried to involve themselves. So that's it. I have no idea what the fallout has been. I'm keeping my account deactivated for a good few weeks and I want nothing further to do with this. Fingers crossed for her and the baby, she will realize he is pathetic and leave him to be miserable and lonely. I had wanted to do this as a way that would cause her as little stress as possible, what with her being pregnant, but either way what's done is done and she knows everything now. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, wow. That guy is a moron. He could not deal with your rejection, tried to make you the bad guy, and punched himself in the face while doing it. Ha 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 ha, dumbass. How can someone be that ducking stupid? You told him you still had everything. Op answer, I know. Truly astonishing, isn't it? I genuinely think he is so wrapped up in his own lies he has no idea what's real anymore as long as he's getting his own way. I'm just glad he's not my problem. Redditor 2, you did the right thing. Op answer, thank you for the reassurance. I'm genuinely scared of this coming back on me in some way, but as long as I've got them both blocked it shouldn't do, fingers crossed. Redditor 3, FYI, this is why you never warn the cheater about coming clean. They'll flip it around and this poor girl might get manipulated into believing him. You've already said he is a gaslighting, manipulating waste of oxygen. And she's pregnant with his kid. She's going to want to believe him so badly even though she knows deep down that you're right, so she might convince herself for the baby's sake to believe his lies. I'm glad you told her, but you shouldn't have told him you were thinking of telling her and just told her. She'd be more likely to leave him like she should. Redditor follow-up, for real. When my ex cheated on me and the other girl found out about me, I think she threatened him with sending me screenshots of their conversations, because out of the blue he sent me frantic messages telling me to block her, spinning some stupid story, so I did block her, and it's something that I've regretted so much as I could have saved myself from a lot of hurt from then on. At least it's all in the past now.